I don't know why I made this connection, but I look at the title, Clear Cold Beyond, and it just looks like it should be like a Super Mario 64 star name. You know, like the ones that give you hints as to like how to get the star? Like, I feel like I should be blasting into a snow level.
Shoot into the wild blue or whatever.
Yeah!
Oh my god, I didn't think of that, and I will never be able to think of the name of this album without thinking of that anymore.
You're very welcome.
Also, thank you. I will now remember the name of the album because I kept forgetting.
That's the only way I could remember, is that every time I looked at it, I'm like, oh yeah, it looks like a Mario 64 star name.
I seriously kept trying to call this album Dark Empath because that's one of the singles. And in my head, that was the name of the album, and I don't know why it just wasn't sticking with me that the album is called Clear Cold Beyond.
Well, let's talk about some forgettable things on Clear Cold Beyond.
Let's talk about oh Jesus. Let's talk about Clear Cold Beyond by Sonata Arctica.
Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Jeff, and welcome to the Sound Judgement podcast,
where every episode we'll be discussing all of the important musical topics, from reviews to which member of Motley Crue is the most vile.
I'm gonna judge the officials. I'm gonna judge all the judges. It's gonna take you people years to recover from all my opinions. Christopher.
Yeah.
We
have history
with Sonata Arctica. In fact, we are friends because of Sonata Arctica.
We could trace this moment back to Sonata Arctica.
Because we were co-workers but didn't work the same shifts. Like, I would see you in passing.
Yeah. I'd probably be leaving when you were coming in.
Yeah, this was 2008, 2009.
The show was in 2009.
Yes, I just meant like the years that we worked together. I forget what time you started, because I started there before you. But like, we would see each other in passing, and we were also both tall dudes with long, kind of curly brown hair, wore glasses, big noses. There were coworkers of ours who would start a conversation with you and then continue the conversation with me like a day later because they didn't really know you. And I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. You weren't talking to me. You started this conversation with someone else.
And I would frequently hear, you look like Jeff. And I'd go, I don't know who that is.
Until one day. I was standing in line at a little place called the Chess Arena to see Sonata Arctica in October of 2009.
Something like that.
And then you walk up to me and basically said, hey, I work with you. And we have been friends ever since.
I said, hey, I work with you. I introduced you to one of the strangest people we both know, and then you sang Tiny Tim.
Yes, and I believe you still have that video of me singing Tiptoe Through the Tulips in my Tiny Tim voice. Yes, and you did introduce me to a mutual friend of ours who half the conversations I have with him end whenever he starts talking about jugs of piss or whatever. I don't know. He says stuff just because he knows it annoys me, and I just stop responding. I have an unread message from him right now because I just haven't bothered, because I could literally see what the message says.
Does it about beats or piss?
It's about piss. I know it's about piss. Give me a second for it to load.
Everyone home, I want you to place a bet on beats or piss.
His last message to me is, vote Piss Jugman. And he sent me a picture of a t-shirt that says, Piss Jugman, you're in trouble if you litter 2024. And I have not responded to this message.
because his other thing is messaging Jeff to eat his beets.
Yes, which I still have never done. He's been telling me to eat beets for 10 years now.
In the comments, write, Jeff, eat your beets.
I'm not. You know what? I actually have a jar of beets in the cabinet. I thought of him, but I didn't eat them yet.
They're not going to go bad. They last forever.
Yeah, I know. So,
you know what else lasts forever is my love for Sonata Arctica, or at least their first, 6 albums.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. I forgot what I was saying. So in all fairness, there was, and when I say a point in time, there was a quite a few years stretch of time where this was my favorite band.
Right.
I got into Sonata Arctica in 2006. I met another friend of mine who introduced me to them, and I was obsessed from 2006 until I'd say 2013, probably. End of high school and through college, this was my favorite band. even though their 2012 album Stones Grow Her Name wasn't my favorite, it has a few songs I really liked, and whatever, everyone's allowed to have a bad album. But then they released Pariah's Child in 2014, which has like 2 good songs, and then they released The Ninth Hour in 2016, which I couldn't even tell you the name of a single song on it. And then they released Talvio in 2019, which is just flaming dog shit. Except for the song The Garden. I will admit I like the song The Garden.
I'm pretty much right there with you. I didn't like them for as long as you did.
Piss Jugman
got me into them. I'm going to bleep his name, but I'm going to bleep it with the word piss.
Piss Jugman.
Piss Jugman. That's... We're going to pretend that's his name. Piss Jugman got me into them probably a little bit after high school. I think he was showing me power metal like after his graduation, and I already knew Halloween and Gamma Ray a little bit. Actually, after his graduation was 2009, so probably at the end of 2008, he was getting me into Sonata Arctica and stuff like that. We started getting back in touch. But for like a good year, I was listening to Ecliptica, Silence, and Winter Hearts Guild, and then I think Reckoning Night I kind of appreciated a little bit later, and then Days of Grey was the new album when we went and saw them. And yeah, I mean, that was, like you said, that was a fantastic stretch of music. Unia maybe was a step back, but...
see, I adored that album when it came out.
Yeah.
I still do. Actually, I still do. Who am I talking about?
Unia...
The first half of that album is still absolutely...
The first half of that album is really good. And then he starts skating with a seal and shit.
But I don't really care about the second half because I can just kind of ignore it because the first half is still so good.
True. The first half is really good.
This is one of those ones, like, and I'm just going to go off a quick tangent here. My grading system, my 5-star grading system here, right? There are times where you can have a 4 or 5-star album, even though there's songs on it that you don't like, because the rest of it makes up for it. And Unia is one of those albums. That is an easy 4-star album, even though I don't listen to half of it. But the first 6 songs on that album are so damn good. I don't care if the rest of it was 20 minutes of someone farting into a microphone. The first half is unbelievably good. So that is a 4-star album. That is an amazing album.
And then, like you said, Stones Grow Her Name was kind of another step down, but it was just like a step down, kind of. And then, like you said, there's the spiral that took us to where we are today, somewhere out in the clear, cold beyond.
Stones Grow Her Name has the song Cinder Blocks, which I really like. It has Don't Be Mean, which I found out is kind of unpopular that I actually like that song. Apparently that's a really unpopular song. It has I Have a Right, which is very, very much like a radio poppy song, but I enjoy it for what it is. And it has Alone in Heaven, which I think is a really good song.
I like the opener. I think Only the Broken Hearts is an alright song.
It's fine. The rest of the album's not great.
But my trade-off is that I don't really care for I Have a Right. I think it's just too long and too repetitive.
It's very repetitive, but I still like it. But the thing is, I don't like these songs as much as I like the first half of Unia. So Stones Grow Her Name is like a 3 out of 5 album.
Sure.
And then Pariah's Child, The Ninth Hour, and Talvio combined have 2 stars. No, I guess I don't know. Do I give 0 stars? Yeah, I'll give 0 stars. Combined, they have 2 stars. And both of those stars go to Pariah's Child.
Oh, shit. I agree. 100%.
The Ninth Hour and Talvio are just
abysmal.
Awful albums.
Unmemorable when they're not abysmal.
Yeah. So we're looking at 10 years since Sonata Arctica has released a good album. And they've also really been changing their style over those 10 years. And this was, they swore, their trip back to their roots. This is gonna sound like a true power metal album.
And you know what, Jeff?
Chris, how do they do?
It kind of sounds that way.
It definitely does.
It sounds, if you told me what an old Sonata Arctica album sounds like, I would say this has most of the characteristics, except for one that I think is the most important, which is having a catchy fucking chorus. And the lack of a catchy chorus, or really the lack of any impressive, interesting vocal lines in general, or any interesting lyrical imagery that used to be what I used to love about Sonata Arctica, leaves me feeling a little hollow. And also California is a terrible, 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 terrible song.
So California needs to fall into the sea.
It does.
The state and the song. I don't know what the hell a prego is either. There's one part where he just like shouts the word prego.
Isn't that spaghetti sauce? That's a brand. Right?
I don't have a clue what was going on.
I know that from my girlfriend is Prego. The
yeah that stupid
pasta.
joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm not gonna say that there aren't good songs on this. Especially, I think Angel Defiled is a good one, and I think Dark Empath is fun. But overall, if we're giving this a star rating, I think we're kind of back to maybe a 2.5. And I know you hate half stars, but I can't do halves. But I can't do a 3, and I think it deserves to be considered better than Paradise Child. And that's kind of my take. You have the floor.
Okay, so I have a few thoughts here, and I'm gonna sort of like go through them kind of in order as I. A lot of these are things I thought of my first listen, right? So first off. Hearing that harpsichord patch on a keyboard just makes me so happy. Yeah. And there is a lot of that harpsichord. Like, that is a throwback to classic European power metal, right?
It takes me right back to Winter's Heart Guild.
Yes, it made me feel so good. It made me I was just transported back in time to like 2009. I felt great. Shamat, which means the king is helpless, or more specifically basically means like checkmate.
It means checkmate, basically, yeah.
Is a lyrically is a pretty solid song. It's one of Tony's telling a story style songs. It's also probably my favorite vocal performance on the album.
And his voice still sounds great.
Well, okay. His voice does sound great. He definitely hasn't like lost his voice. At least what of his voice he hasn't lost, or at least chooses to use.
He doesn't soar the way he used to.
I don't know when it happened. So here's the thing. Very early Sonata Arctica, he used to sing way too high for his actual abilities, right? I think he pushed his voice too much. And it sounded fine, but it sounded like they were trying too hard to be Stradivarius, which if you listen to Ecliptica is very much what they were trying to do. They were trying to be Stradivarius, which they were not.
Right.
But then, as the years went on, Tony's voice, he kind of figured out the sweet spot.
Right.
He kept some high range. It got a little shrieky and screamy. It had a lot of power. He has a great vibrato, and it sounded absolutely incredible for a good handful of years there. But I question if he was shredding his voice during that time and I didn't realize it, because I mean, having seen them live multiple times, they sounded great every time. But then as the albums were getting worse and I didn't bother seeing them because I didn't want to see set lists of songs I didn't care for, especially considering they were also the opener for a couple tours, and I'm just like, I don't want to go see you play 8 songs that I like one of them. And that one song is going to be like one of the songs from their first 2 albums that I've heard a bunch of times. I don't need to hear this again. So I looked up recordings, and there were a lot of recordings where he just wasn't singing some parts, like doing the whole like, I'm going to let the audience sing it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then there were other recordings where he just felt like he was totally phoning in.
Yeah.
No passion, no
There
power.
was a period where it seemed like if he performed an old song, he just didn't give a shit. And me and Piss Jug Man were talking about that like not that long ago before this album came out, just that period during like the tours for the Ninth Hour and Talavio.
Yeah, those general areas.
If he did a song, like an older song, he just sounded like he did not give a shit.
No. And I mean, not that I blame him. No one wants to sing Full Moon for the 30 millionth time, but I also question if he could do it. And that's fine. People's voices are allowed to change, and his voice has obviously changed, and the writing reflects it. So that being said, this sounds like a power metal album, except it's missing one of the things that kind of makes power metal. The voice isn't power metal anymore. He still has a really great voice. I mean, like I would listen to the man sing something, just not this, right?
Right.
So as I'm listening through it, Shamat, I think it is. I'm sorry. Is a pretty decent song actually. I do enjoy that one. But then I got to The Cure for Everything, and it was at this point that I was really starting to question if basically every song has like the same drum beat. In fact, every song sounds almost identical. Like we're getting that Linkin Park thing where you can just take the songs and stack them on top of each other.
Yeah.
It's like they wanted to get back to power metal so badly that they just wrote the same song a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And also, I realized that we haven't gotten a ballad yet, because then we get to the song Teardrops, and I thought like, oh, this is gonna like be the one that saves us, right? But then the drum beat comes in, and it's just like way too busy for the song. You know that video of the oh god, I had his name written down somewhere. I don't know how to pronounce the name because it's Japanese. Nyengo Star, the guy in the like pink cat costume, who just goes absolutely nuts playing like kids music.
It's
like he's
the
playing
video
drums.
that's like Mark, this drummer's at the wrong gig or whatever. Right?
Well, not the one with the guy in the
suit.
Not the one with the guy in the gold jacket.
Yeah.
Doing Sharp Dressed Man.
Yeah.
The one with the guy in the
other one where he's dressed
suit.
up in a cat suit. Right.
And he's just like going absolutely wild.
Absolutely.
I feel like he played drums on this whole album. And it's like no one told him what the songs were. He wasn't even listening. They just gave him a tempo and he went for the whole, like there's not a single ballad on this album.
I was just say that's the other thing that Sonata Arctica was great at in their best years, was
those tearjerker ballads.
They would throw these ballads in the middle of these like power metal albums, and they were always so just a great change of pace and well written.
Yeah, so I mean, as you mentioned, Angels Defiled is another pretty solid song. But again, by this point, like, it's draining. Every song is the same. And each song is like, it's pretty good at the start, and I keep thinking, okay, I'm gonna like this one, and then just and then guitar player Elias Viljanen, who replaced Jani Limatainen way back in the day, way before we saw them. Jani is a phenomenal riff writer. Right? That dude knows how to write a power metal riff. Elias chugs a lot. Right?
Yeah.
He can chug. He can chug pretty well.
I bet if you gave him a bottle of water right now, he'd chug that whole thing.
Yeah, he can chug really well.
Yeah.
And he can wheedle really well.
He can wheedle with the best of them.
But like there's not a whole lot of melody here, and I'm not sure there's one like discernible riff on the album.
Yeah.
There's some great keyboard lines, right? Our boy Henka is playing the keyboards like a madman. He's
There are
phenomenal.
some good keyboard lines. There are some good keyboard lines. But other than that, like, Sonata Arctica was known for just making these catchy fucking power metal albums, and the speed is there, and there's no catchiness in anything that is being sung or played by anyone other than Henka.
This is all speed and no creativity.
No heart?
No heart. There's no soul, right? So then
if we're gonna talk about power metal, we might as well just get straight to it. There's no heart, there's no soul. We better start using these words.
Yeah, okay, you're right. There's no heart and soul. There's no heart and soul in this. There's no tear jerkers here, right? So then we get to the track, The Best Thing, and it's playing, and I have the lyrics open in front of me, and I'm listening to this gorgeous piano, and then 30 seconds later, guitars boom, and once again, this is like not the ballad I thought it was going to be. The final track is the closest thing we have to a ballad, and even half the song is still the same, just like chugging going on. Here's my thought, though. I was, and I still am, sad and disappointed by Tony's loss of vocal abilities, obviously. It comes with age, it comes with touring, it comes with ruining your voice. That's life. That will not take away that era of time that is on record where he is just this god among men as a vocalist, right?
Yeah.
But for the longest time, I also kind of, I feel like subconsciously put the blame on Tony for the lack of creativity in the albums.
Mm-hmm.
And this album is making me question if that's actually the case, because of the complete lack of riffs and otherwise memorable things. I feel like Tony is missing the people who he really used to bounce ideas off with and say, like, we should do this. And then you have someone who isn't just a yes man come out and say, no, right, I'm doing this. This entire album feels like if you took insert random track off of Ecliptica here or whatever, like take a track like Misplaced or whatever.
This could be the worst song on any of their best albums. Any one of these songs could be the worst song on any of their best albums.
That's the best way to put it. You take the worst song off of one of their albums and rehash it 10 times, and that's this. They're all fine. Nothing's incredible.
That's an interesting point, because if you look at like timelines and stuff, yeah, Yanni left after
Right after Unya.
Right after Unya, and I like Days of Grace, but that's about the time that things started getting kind of dicey. But 2 albums later, you have Marco leaves right before Pariah's Child.
Yes.
And I wonder if maybe Yanni and Marco were maybe just as influential, we'll say, as Tony on those early albums.
I'm wondering if they were at least more important in the songwriting aspects.
Because I don't think Henrik writes. I think he's always been kind of open about that. And if Tommy doesn't write, then that basically just leaves us with Tony as the only original member writing.
And now we have Elias and, Pasi Kalpanen on bass, who's a phenomenal bassist.
Pasi's a great bassist, but anyone who joins a band in 2013, you're joining how many years into their fucking existence?
He's joining a band that existed for 15 years
of, probably, on some level.
Actually, I take it back. The band was around for almost 20 years by the time he joined, because I always forget that they were under the name Tricky Beans and then Tricky Means since the mid-90s.
Yeah.
So he was joining a band that was 20 years established. I don't, not that I'm trying to like push the blame. I do think this album was really nice to see because it is a step in the direction that I like seeing them go.
Right.
I don't know. I'll give them 2 more stars though.
2 stars total?
I'll give them 2 stars. No, it's 2 more. It's 2 more since 2014.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They get their 2 more.
Okay.
They now have 4 stars in the past 10 years.
Between
5 albums.
5 albums. Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a stickler on the voice, because I have heard like deep voice power metal, and I it can be good. Not that he has a deep voice, but
he doesn't have the right voice.
But he doesn't have the right voice anymore, and I don't want to like be a stickler on that. I would like to say that maybe if they came back with better songwriting, I could look past the voice thing. But there's just nothing interesting going on here in any respect. It's maybe not bad, but it's just not very interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think, exactly what it is.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm glad that wasn't a hot take on my part, because that was the one I wasn't sure if we'd agree on.
I'm kind of with you, honestly.
So we had one really, really, really good metal album, and then also Clear Cold Beyond.
Yeah, it's exactly what we did.
Wow.
A little less happy birthday to me.
A little less happy.
It was nice to give them 2 stars again, though. It's better than the flat 0 they've gotten.
Oh my god! Like I said, this is surely a step in the right direction from Talvio in the 9th Hour. I think it's maybe a little better than Pariah's Child, although I would say maybe the songs I like on Pariah's Child I like better. But I'd probably listen to this album through again before Pariah's Child if you put a gun to my head and said pick one.
Pariah's Child has The Wolves Die Young in Cloud Factory. And I like those 2 songs a lot.
Yeah, and there's like a high he does during Running Lights that I like. I don't like the song, I just like the note.
Oh, so I couldn't even tell you the last time I listened to it, to be honest with you.
That's fine.
It's been years, because I just know it just doesn't do anything for me anymore.
No, I just think it's the best note he's hit since probably fucking Days of Grace.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, like I said, I still like those 2 songs off that album.
He probably fucking blew his voice out doing it. Hey, that I'm gonna leave this transition in, but you know who else wrote a really good power metal song this year?
Who?
Ninja Sex Party. To be continued next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Dude, they totally did.